My name is Woody, and I am 32 years old. The fluorescent lights burned my eyes as I regained consciousness in the emergency room. My mouth was desert dry. A paramedic leaned over me, relief washing over his face. "Good to see you awake," he said. "We tried every number in your emergency contacts. No answer." Those words cut deeper than any scalpel could. In that sterile room, surrounded by strangers in scrubs, I had never felt more alone. Before I share how this moment changed my entire life, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit subscribe to hear more raw family stories that might just change your perspective. The morning of my collapse did not begin differently from any other day in my life. For the past 5 years, I had been a middle manager at SoftPeak Technologies, a growing software company in Seattle. My alarm blared at 5:30 a.m., and I was at my desk by 7 reviewing slides for my big presentation. That was my normal. I lived and breathed. My work convinced that success meant climbing that corporate ladder faster than anyone else. My apartment reflected my priorities. Minimalist furniture, barely used kitchen, and a desk drowning in papers. No family photos adorned my walls. The last one I had displayed a graduation picture with my parents and sister had been tucked away in a drawer 3 years ago after a particularly heated phone call with my father, Marcus. Marcus Winston was an old-school man. Military background, straightforward communication, high expectations. Growing up, I both admired and feared him. He built his construction business from nothing, working 14-hour days, and expected the same dedication from his children. My mother, Elaine, was the peacekeeper. Soft-spoken but resilient, she managed to maintain some semblance of warmth in our achievement-oriented household. Then there was Rebecca, my younger sister by 2 years. As children, we were inseparable. I taught her to ride a bike, she helped me with art projects. But something shifted when I left for college. Rebecca stayed closer to home, attending a local university, and eventually taking a position in the marketing department of our father's company. She became the daughter who was always there, while I became the son who was always working. Our relationship degraded into polite competition. Every family gathering became an unconscious battle of accomplishments. Her promotion versus my bonus. Her new house versus my downtown apartment. Her community involvement versus my corporate connections. Neither of us acknowledged this silent war, but it poisoned every interaction. The last time I had spoken to my family was 3 weeks before my collapse. My mother called to remind me about her 60th birthday celebration. "Everyone will be there," she said, hope evident in her voice. "Uncle Robert is flying in from Phoenix, and Aunt Carol is bringing her famous apple pie. Mom, I have a major presentation coming up, the one I told you about. If it goes well, I might make senior manager by the end of the quarter." The disappointment in her silence was palpable. "Woody, you said the same thing at Christmas and Thanksgiving before that. This time is different. This client could double our business." My father took the phone. His voice carried that familiar edge of disapproval. "Son, there will always be another presentation, another client. Your mother is turning 60 once. Dad, you built your business by making sacrifices. You taught me that. Not these kinds of sacrifices," he said, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. "Not the ones you will regret." The conversation deteriorated from there. Words like priorities and family obligation were thrown around. I countered with career advancement and financial security. When Rebecca joined in suggesting I could work remotely for just 2 days, I ended the call promising to try but making no commitments. I never called back, and they did not call me again. At work, pressure mounted daily. My boss, Gerald Thompson, had entrusted me with landing the Meridian account, a healthcare conglomerate looking to overhaul their entire digital infrastructure. A $15 million contract. The largest prospect our division had ever pursued. "Woody, the board is watching this one closely," Gerald had said, clapping my shoulder. "Nail this presentation, and the senior manager position is practically yours." My team consisted of Trevor, our technical genius who lacked people skills, Diana, our meticulous research analyst, and Miranda, our newest member who brought fresh perspectives but required guidance. I pushed them hard, but I pushed myself harder. 16-hour days became normal. Weekend work sessions were mandatory. Miranda expressed concern one evening as we ordered our third round of takeout. "Woody, when was the last time you actually slept more than 4 hours?" I dismissed her with a wave. Sleep is for after we land Meridian. The warning signs were there. Persistent headaches that painkillers barely touched. Moments of dizziness when I stood too quickly. Chest tightness I attributed to stress. My morning routine grew to include an alarming number of supplements and energy drinks. My bathroom cabinet filled with sleeping aids that rarely worked. Looking back, I wonder if my family sensed something was wrong. Did my voice betray my exhaustion during that last call? Did my mother hear the strain beneath my excuses? Did my father recognize the hollow ambition driving me so different from his purposeful work ethic? I will never know because I refused to show weakness, to them or myself. In my mind, success required sacrifice, and I was simply paying the necessary price. I had convinced myself that once I reached senior manager, things would ease up. I would reconnect with family, maybe even start dating again, after my relationship with Heather ended 2 years prior. The weekend before my presentation, I declined an invitation from Trevor to join him and some colleagues for drinks. Instead, I rehearsed my presentation repeatedly, fine-tuning each slide, anticipating every possible question. My apartment became a war room with charts and competitor analyses taped to walls. I subsisted on coffee and protein bars, ignoring the increasingly frequent heart palpitations that left me gasping for breath. Sunday night, my father called again. I let it go to voicemail. His message was brief. "Your mother misses you. Just call her even if you cannot make it." I played it twice, felt a pang of guilt, then returned to my preparation. Family would have to wait, just a little longer. That was my life before the collapse. Driven by ambition but devoid of connection. Full of professional contacts but lacking true friends. Chasing a future so intently that I had lost sight of the present. I had become exactly what my father feared: successful on paper, bankrupt in all the ways that truly mattered. Monday morning arrived with ominous skies and a thunderstorm forecast. I woke before my alarm, a dull pressure behind my eyes, signaling another headache brewing. Standing under the shower, I let scalding water pound my shoulders, hoping to release the tension that had permanently settled there. The face in my bathroom mirror looked foreign: hollow cheeks, dark circles, skin pale, despite my naturally olive complexion. "Just get through today," I told my reflection, swallowing 2 painkillers with a gulp of water. My presentation outfit had been prepared days in advance. My lucky charcoal gray suit, crisp white shirt, and the blue tie my mother had given me 3 birthdays ago. "This brings out your eyes," she had said. It was the only personal item I allowed myself on this crucial day. The office buzzed with unusual energy when I arrived at 6:30 a.m. The conference room had been transformed overnight. New chairs surrounded the massive oak table, fresh flowers adorned the credenza, and tech support was doing final checks on the projector system. Miranda approached with a coffee cup. "Made it just how you like it. Extra shot, no sugar." "Thanks," I said, taking the cup. "Did the revised market analysis come in?" "On your desk." "But Woody," she hesitated, studying my face. "Are you feeling all right? You look really pale." "Just presentation nerves," I lied, ignoring how the room tilted slightly when I turned my head. Nothing unusual. Trevor appeared, tablet in hand. The Meridian team just pulled into the parking garage, 6 of them including their CEO. My heart rate accelerated. Catherine Wilson, Meridian's notoriously demanding CEO, rarely attended initial presentations. Her presence signaled either exceptional interest or an opportunity to personally reject vendors. "And Gerald says the entire executive team will be sitting in," Diana added, joining our circle, all 5 vice presidents. The pressure intensified. Not just the Meridian account was on the line now, but a performance in front of our entire leadership. My vision blurred momentarily, and I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. "Let us handle the technical questions," Trevor said, misinterpreting my gesture as anxiety. "You just work your Woody magic on the big picture." By 7:45 a.m., the conference room filled with bodies and competing colognes. Introductions blurred together as I shook hands with the Meridian team, our executives and 2 board members who had decided to attend last minute. 23 people would witness either my greatest professional triumph or catastrophic failure. Gerald opened with pleasantries and company background before introducing me. And now our solutions architect and team lead Woody Winston will walk you through our proposal for Meridian's digital transformation. The room fell silent as I stood. The first few slides went smoothly as I outlined our understanding of Meridian's challenges, outdated systems, security vulnerabilities, inefficient workflows. Catherine Wilson nodded approvingly when I mentioned specific pain points her staff had shared during our discovery phase. 15 minutes in, I felt it. A slight tremor in my hands. Increased difficulty forming complete sentences. The room temperature seemed to fluctuate between freezing and sweltering. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the air conditioning. Our implementation timeline accelerates benefits while minimizing disruption, I explained, advancing to the next slide. The words on screen doubled, then tripled. I blinked hard, forcing them back into focus. Woody Gerald's voice seemed to come from underwater. The ROI metrics. Yes, of course, I mumbled, fumbling with the presenter remote. Our return on investment projections indicate first-year savings of... The room tilted dramatically. Faces around the table distorted like a funhouse mirror. A high-pitched ringing filled my ears, drowning out my own voice. My legs suddenly felt disconnected from my body. I apologize, I managed to say. I just need a moment to. The last thing I remember was Catherine Wilson's alarmed expression as I reached for the table edge and missed. The floor rushed up to meet me, and darkness swallowed everything. Consciousness returned in fragments. Voices shouting for space, someone loosening my tie, the cool floor against my cheek, then hands rolling me onto something firm. Movement, the wail of sirens. BP is 70/40 and dropping. Heart rate 130 and irregular. Sir, can you hear me? Squeeze my hand if you can hear me. I tried to respond, but my body refused to cooperate. Through slitted eyes, I saw Trevor's worried face above me as paramedics lifted me into an ambulance. His emergency contact list, someone asked. Trevor's voice. His phone is locked. He mentioned his parents live in Portland. His father's name is Marcus, I think. We will try directory assistance. Sir, stay with us. Sir. The ambulance interior spun like a carnival ride. An oxygen mask covered my face, needle pricks in my arm. The paramedic calling my name repeatedly. Then merciful blackness again. Later I learned what happened after I lost consciousness. The presentation ended abruptly as paramedics were called. Diana had collected my materials while Trevor accompanied me to the hospital. Gerald had somehow salvaged the meeting, promising to reschedule once his valuable team member recovered. Catherine Wilson had actually expressed concern, requesting to be updated on my condition. None of that mattered in the moment. As the ambulance raced through Seattle traffic, my career ambitions and 5 years of relentless work faded to insignificance. In that suspended state between consciousness and oblivion, only one thought surfaced. If I die today, who would truly mourn me? Who would feel a Woody-shaped hole in their life? The answer terrified me more than my failing body. The steady beep of medical equipment pulled me from darkness. My eyelids felt impossibly heavy, but I forced them open to a world of blinding white. Hospital ceiling, IV stand, monitoring equipment. Reality assembled itself in painful fragments. There he is, a gentle voice said. A middle-aged man in a white coat moved into my field of vision. Mr. Winston, I am Dr. Williams. You are at Seattle Memorial Hospital. Do you understand me? I tried to speak, but produced only a dry rasp. A nurse held a straw to my lips, and I sipped cool water gratefully. What happened? I finally managed, my voice unfamiliar to my own ears. You experienced a syncopal episode during your meeting. In layman's terms, you fainted, but it was far more serious than a simple fainting spell. Dr. Williams checked the monitors beside my bed. Your body essentially went on strike, Mr. Winston. Severe exhaustion, dehydration, and what appears to be stress-induced cardiomyopathy. Your heart was literally failing from overwork. The irony was not lost on me, my body mirroring my professional life. We have you stabilized now, but I must be frank. If this had happened while you were driving or alone in your apartment, we might be having a very different outcome. You are lucky. Lucky did not describe how I felt. My head throbbed. My chest ached with each breath. Even my fingertips seemed to pulse with pain. Dr. Williams continued, his tone softening. We tried contacting your emergency contacts. Parents, sister. He paused. We tried every number. No answer. Those words landed like physical blows. No answer. Not unreachable. Not busy. Simply no answer. Your colleague Trevor provided the numbers, but we could not reach anyone. He has been in the waiting room since you arrived. Trevor. The same Trevor who I had reprimanded last week for taking a long lunch. The same colleague I barely socialized with outside project meetings. Can I see him? I asked. Dr. Williams nodded. Briefly. You need rest more than visitors. Trevor entered, awkwardly, relief visible on his normally stoic face. Man, you scared the hell out of everyone. Sorry about the presentation, I said, automatically, corporate instincts still driving my concerns. Forget the presentation. Gerald handled it. Catherine Wilson actually seemed more worried about you than the proposal. Asked Gerald to send updates about your condition. He shifted uncomfortably. Did they reach your family? The question stung. Number, they did not. That is weird. I gave them all the numbers from your emergency contact form. Trevor frowned. Want me to try calling them directly? No, I said too quickly. No need. They are probably busy with something. The excuse sounded hollow even to me. What could possibly keep both parents and a sister from answering multiple calls from a hospital? Trevor stayed another 10 minutes, updating me on office reactions and assuring me my job was secure. Gerald said to tell you health comes first. The Meridian presentation can be rescheduled. After he left, embarrassment washed over me. My workplace colleagues showing more concern than my own blood relatives. I reached for my phone on the bedside table, wincing as the movement pulled at my IV line. Notifications filled my screen. 12 messages from Gerald, 7 from Diana, 5 from Miranda. Even Catherine Wilson had somehow obtained my email, sending well wishes and assurances that my medical emergency would not negatively impact their vendor decision. Nothing from Marcus Elaine or Rebecca Winston. I dialed my father's number, listening to 6 rings before voicemail picked up. Dad, it is Woody. I am in the hospital, Seattle Memorial. Nothing too serious, but just call me when you get this. Next, my mother. Same result. Then Rebecca. Nothing. I told myself there must be an explanation. Perhaps they had all gone somewhere with poor reception. Maybe they were on a flight. But these rationalizations felt flimsy against the cold reality I had systematically pushed them away for years, and now in my moment of need they were simply absent. As evening approached, the hospital quieted. Shift change brought new nurses who checked vitals and adjusted medications with professional detachment. Dr. Williams returned, briefly pleased with my improving numbers but insistent that I remain hospitalized for at least several days. Your heart needs time to recover, Mr. Winston, and frankly, so does the rest of you. When was the last time you had a proper night's sleep or a meal that did not come from a vending machine? I could not remember. That is what I thought, he said, making notes in my chart. Consider this a mandatory reset. Your body will not sustain this pace indefinitely. Left alone, I faced the most terrifying companion, silence. No ringing phone, no email notifications, no project deadlines, just the hum of medical equipment and my own thoughts echoing in a sterile room. I had built my entire identity around professional achievement. Take that away, and who was I? What remained of Woody Winston when the presentations and strategy sessions and client meetings were stripped away? The answer seemed to be a man in a hospital bed with no one rushing to his side. As night descended fully, loneliness became a physical presence heavy on my chest. I reached again for my phone, this time opening social media. Perhaps there I might find some explanation for my family's silence. Some indication they were unreachable for a legitimate reason, not simply ignoring their son and brother in his time of need. What I found would crack my carefully constructed reality wide open. My finger paused over the Facebook icon. I rarely checked social media, considering it a distraction from productivity. My profile existed primarily as a professional networking tool carefully curated to show career milestones rather than personal moments. The app opened to my feed filled with updates from distant acquaintances and former classmates. I searched for Rebecca Winston and found her profile immediately. My sister posted frequently, her life a colorful stream of social gatherings, work accomplishments, and family moments. Her most recent post, shared just 3 hours earlier, stopped my breath. A photo of my entire family gathered around a table at Antonio's, an upscale Italian restaurant my mother had always wanted to try. My father looking relaxed in a blue button-down shirt I had never seen. My mother smiling broadly, her arm linked through his. Rebecca centered in the frame, raising a wine glass. Uncle James and Aunt Patricia, cousins I had not seen in years. Even Ben, my childhood best friend, who had remained close with my family despite my gradual disappearance. The caption crushed whatever composure I had maintained. Celebrating family without the drama, perfect evening with the people who matter most. Blessed family first. 38 comments beneath. I scrolled through them, each one a fresh wound. So great to have a peaceful dinner for once. Your mom looks so happy, tell her I love her new hairstyle. Best Winston gathering in ages. Rebecca had responded enthusiastically to each comment, not once mentioning my absence or hospital stay. It was as if I had been erased entirely from the family narrative. I zoomed in on their faces, searching for signs of concern or worry. Some indication that beneath their smiles lay thoughts of their missing family member. My father laughed openly at something across the table. My mother's eyes crinkled with genuine joy. Rebecca looked more relaxed than I had seen her in years. The truth hit with stunning clarity: they were happier without me. I placed my phone screen down on the blanket, unable to look anymore. The monitoring equipment betrayed my distress as my heart rate climbed. A nurse poked her head in, asking if I needed anything for pain. Physical pain would have been easier to address than this hollow ache spreading through my chest. I am fine, I lied, just trying to get comfortable. She adjusted my pillow and left. I remained motionless, staring at the ceiling as memories flooded back, recontextualized by this new revelation. Childhood summers at Lake Chelan, where Rebecca and I built elaborate sandcastles, while Dad grilled and Mom read paperbacks under an umbrella. Weekend mornings watching cartoons in our pajamas, sharing a bowl of cereal. Dad teaching us both to fish patient despite our constant tangles and lost bait. Mom bandaging scraped knees and elbows, kissing away tears with gentle reassurances. When had it changed? When had I transformed from beloved son and brother to family obligation, the unwelcome guest whose presence cast a shadow over gatherings? College had been the first division. While Rebecca attended Washington State, remaining close enough for weekend visits home, I chose Stanford, putting hundreds of miles between myself and Portland. Initially, I called weekly, sharing stories of classes and new friends. But as academic competition intensified, those calls became monthly, then occasional. After graduation, I accepted a position in Seattle, rather than returning to Portland, where my father had connections in every major company. Making my own way, I had declared proudly. My parents supported my decision outwardly, but I now recalled the hurt in my mother's eyes when I signed the lease on my Seattle apartment. Family gatherings became increasingly tense as years passed. My corporate achievements seemed to irritate my father rather than impress him. All that education to help rich companies get richer, he once remarked after I described a particularly successful quarter. I had dismissed his comment as old-fashioned thinking, not recognizing the value's judgment beneath it. Rebecca and I developed a strained politeness, our childhood closeness eroded by my physical and emotional distance. She became increasingly integrated into the family business, renovating their website, modernizing marketing strategies, and eventually taking over client relations. Dad glowed with pride, describing her contributions. My contributions, in contrast, benefited strangers. My expertise built software that I could not explain to my parents without using jargon that excluded them. My success manifested in promotions and bonuses that took me further from home, not closer. Last Thanksgiving, the tension had peaked when I arrived late, having taken a client call in the driveway that stretched to 40 minutes. Dinner was already served, my empty chair. A silent accusation. "Nice of you to join us." My father had said, not bothering to hide his irritation. "Some of us have jobs that do not conveniently end at 5, I had responded. My mother intervened quickly. "Your plate is in the warming drawer, sweetheart. Still hot." But the damage was done. Conversation remained stilted throughout the meal. I left early the next morning, citing work emergencies. No one seemed surprised or particularly disappointed. Now lying in a hospital bed with my body in open rebellion, I wondered, had I engineered my own isolation, constructed walls so thick that even hospital calls could not penetrate them? I did not comment on Rebecca's photo, did not send a message informing them of my condition. Pride, that most destructive emotion, prevented me from appearing vulnerable, from admitting I needed what I had so carelessly discarded: family. Sleep evaded me that night. When Dr. Elizabeth Thompson, the cardiologist, arrived for morning rounds, she frowned at my readings. "Your physical markers are improving, but your stress levels remain concerning," she said, studying my face. "Is something troubling you beyond the obvious health scare?" I considered deflecting her question, but found myself too exhausted for pretense. "I just discovered my family is celebrating my absence rather than worried about me." Dr. Thompson pulled up a chair. Unlike Dr. Williams' clinical efficiency, she projected genuine compassion. "Family relationships can be complicated, especially during health crises. Would you like to talk about it?" I surprised myself by accepting her invitation. The story poured out my gradual withdrawal from family life, the competitive relationship with Rebecca, my father's disapproval, the unanswered hospital calls, and finally, the devastating social media post. "It appears I have been systematically removing myself from their lives for years," I concluded, "and now they have simply accepted my absence as the preferred state." Dr. Thompson considered this. "Or perhaps there is context you are missing. Social media rarely tells the complete story. The complete story is that I prioritized work over relationships until those relationships withered. Classic case of reaping what you sow." The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. "Well, Mr. Winston, whether that assessment is accurate or not, your current priority must be recovery. Physical and emotional stress are intertwined. Your heart cannot heal while you are this distressed." She was right, of course. Medical logic dictated focusing on recovery, putting aside family drama until my body stabilized. But emotions rarely follow logical pathways. As Dr. Thompson left, I made a decision I would rebuild my life without depending on family connections. If they had moved on, so would I. Once discharged, I would restructure my work habits, make actual friends rather than networking contacts, perhaps even begin dating again. I would prove that Woody Winston could thrive independently, without the family that apparently thrived without him. This resolution carried me through the day with artificial calm. I responded politely to nurse inquiries, ate the bland hospital food without complaint, and even managed brief, upbeat texts to Gerald and Trevor about my improving condition. Inside, however, a lifetime of certainties had been upended. The foundation I had built my identity upon, professional success, individual achievement, self-reliance, had cracked irreparably. I was adrift in unfamiliar emotional waters, without the lifeline I had never acknowledged, needing the unconditional support of people who knew me before I became a resume of accomplishments. That night I dreamed of my childhood home. In the dream I stood outside looking through windows at my family gathered for dinner. I knocked repeatedly, but no one heard. When I tried the door, my key no longer fit the lock. I woke with tears on my face, the first I had shed since my grandfather's funeral, a decade earlier. The hospital routine quickly established itself. Vitals checks at 6 a.m., breakfast at 7:30, doctor rounds by 9, physical therapist at 11 guiding me through gentle exercises to maintain strength without taxing my recovering heart. Lunch at 12:30, afternoons filled with tests, echocardiograms, blood work, stress monitoring. Dinner at 5:30, evening medication. Lights dimmed at 9 p.m., though sleep remained elusive. My condition improved steadily, at least according to the numbers. Blood pressure stabilized, heart rhythm normalized. The crushing fatigue receded incrementally. Dr. Williams seemed pleased with my progress, though he maintained I needed to remain hospitalized for continued observation. Your heart experienced significant strain, Mr. Winston. We need to ensure it is truly recovering before sending you home, especially since you live alone. That last part stung more than he likely intended. Trevor visited daily, usually during his lunch break, bringing updates from the office, and on day 2, a laptop so I could check emails. Gerald visited once awkwardly standing at the foot of my bed in his immaculate suit, assuring me my position remained secure. Take whatever time you need, Woody. The Meridian presentation has been rescheduled for next month. Diana and Trevor can handle the prep work. His words should have relieved me. Instead, they triggered an unexpected anxiety. If my team could function without me, was I as essential as I had believed? The thought was immediately followed by a more troubling realization. I was measuring my worth by workplace indispensability. The very mindset that had landed me in this hospital bed. Miranda organized a card signed by the entire department and sent a modest arrangement of blue hydrangeas. The note read, "Offices can be replaced. You cannot be. Get well." A surprisingly personal gesture from someone I had known less than 6 months. Diana delivered a stack of business journals and industry reports. "Thought you might be bored," she explained, placing them on my bedside table. "Though the doctors said not to stress you with work matters, so maybe this was a bad idea." "No, it is thoughtful," I assured her, though the publications held remarkably little appeal now. The quarterly projections and market analyses that had once consumed my attention now seemed abstract, disconnected from anything meaningful. Most surprising was the steady presence of Jessica, the night shift nurse assigned to my floor. Unlike the efficient but detached day nurses, Jessica engaged me in actual conversation during her rounds. "What do you do when you are not working yourself into cardiac events?" she asked on the second night, checking my IV with practiced hands. "I work more," I admitted. She laughed, a warm sound in the sterile environment. "That explains a lot. No hobbies, no social life, no passions outside the office." I struggled to formulate an answer that did not sound pathetic. Once I had played recreational basketball, enjoyed hiking the magnificent trails surrounding Seattle, even dabbled in cooking classes. But those activities had been gradually sacrificed to 60-hour work weeks and weekend project sessions. "I used to have interests," I finally said. "I seem to have misplaced them." Jessica did not judge. Instead, she shared stories from her own life, raising 2 teenagers, as a single mother, taking night classes toward an advanced nursing degree, maintaining a small container garden on her apartment balcony. Her life sounded chaotic, but anchored in genuine connections. "Nursing taught me something valuable," she said during our third night conversation. "We are not guaranteed tomorrow." Sounds cliché, but when you watch people face that reality daily, it changes your priorities. Her words resonated more than any corporate motivation speech I had ever heard. By the third day, I had developed a new routine within the hospital routine: mornings for necessary medical interactions, afternoons for reflection and tentative planning. What would a balanced life actually look like? How could I maintain career momentum without sacrificing everything else? Evenings for streaming documentaries on my phone, a small pleasure I had denied myself for years, always opting for industry podcasts instead. Not once did I attempt to contact my family again. Their silence had become a wound I refused to reopen. In my mind, I had already begun constructing a future without Winston family gatherings, holiday dinners, or birthday celebrations. I would build connections elsewhere, perhaps join a recreational sports league, reconnect with college friends I had neglected, accept the occasional happy hour invitation from colleagues. Dr. Elizabeth Thompson continued monitoring my cardiac recovery, often extending our sessions beyond medical necessity to check on my emotional state. "The mind-heart connection is powerful," she explained. "Emotional distress can manifest physically, particularly in cardiac function." Something about her straightforward compassion broke through my professional facade. During her visit on day 3, I found myself sharing more personal thoughts than I had revealed to anyone in years. "I built my entire identity around career achievement," I admitted. "Take that away, and I am not sure who remains." Dr. Thompson nodded thoughtfully. "Many high achievers face that question eventually, though usually not through such dramatic circumstances. I always believed I was working toward something meaningful: security, success, respect. But now I wonder if I was actually running away from something. Like what she prompted. Vulnerability, maybe. The possibility of failing at relationships the way my father failed with his first marriage before meeting my mother. The risk of being judged and found wanting. Dr. Thompson smiled slightly. Sounds like you are doing good work beyond physical recovery. Our conversations continued blurring the line between medical consultation and therapy. I learned she had experienced her own workaholic phase during medical residency, nearly destroying her marriage before recognizing the pattern. Balance is not something you achieve once and maintain forever, she said. It requires constant adjustment, like steering a boat, small corrections to stay on course. By the fourth day, Dr. Williams declared me stable enough for discharge the following morning, though with strict limitations on activity and mandatory follow-up appointments. Your body needs continued rest, Mr. Winston. No work for at least 2 weeks. Limited screen time. No stress. The old Woody would have argued negotiated found loopholes to maintain work involvement. The new Woody, still emerging from cardiac trauma and emotional revelation, simply nodded acceptance. That evening I felt strong enough to shower independently and change into fresh clothes Trevor had brought from my apartment. The simple act of wearing something other than a hospital gown restored a small sense of normalcy. I sat in the visitor chair rather than the bed, watching the sunset through my window, contemplating the changes awaiting me. My phone remained silent on the bedside table. No calls or messages from Portland. No family inquiries about my condition. I had made peace with this reality, or so I told myself. Tomorrow I would return to my apartment, begin my physical recovery, and gradually implement the lifestyle changes this experience had shown were necessary. Perhaps in time I would reach out to my family again, when I could approach them from a position of wholeness rather than need. The universe, however, had different plans for reconciliation. As Seattle descended into darkness and hospital corridors quieted for the night, my carefully constructed future was about to be completely rewritten. The clock on the wall read 2:17 a.m., when my phone erupted in sound, vibrating violently across the bedside table. I jolted awake, momentarily disoriented in the dim hospital room. Fumbling for the device, I expected an accidental call or perhaps a wrong number. The screen blazed with notifications. 73 missed calls. 48 from my father, 19 from my mother, 6 from Rebecca, all within the past 4 hours. A text message appeared as I stared in disbelief. Pick up. This is bigger than you realize. It is serious. From my father, sent 3 minutes ago. My thumb hovered over the notification. Anger, confusion, and fear battled for dominance. After 4 days of silence now, they were desperate to reach me. The timing felt cruel, almost calculated to coincide with my recovery. Before I could decide whether to respond, the phone vibrated again. Incoming call, Dad. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, each chime fueling my resentment. They had ignored hospital calls about their son's medical emergency, but expected immediate response to their crisis. Whatever it was could surely wait until morning. On the 6th ring, something in me relented. Perhaps it was Jessica's words about guaranteed tomorrows. Perhaps the vulnerability of recent days had softened my reflexive defensiveness. Whatever the reason, I pressed accept. Hello. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, a blend of lingering sleep and emotional guardedness. Woody. My father's voice contained none of its usual authoritative tone. Instead, he sounded ragged, desperate. Thank God. Are you all right? Am I all right? Incredulity sharpened my response. I have been in the hospital for 4 days. The better question is, where have you been? Hospital. What are you talking about? Genuine confusion colored his words. Which hospital? Seattle Memorial. I collapsed during a presentation on Monday. They called all of you repeatedly. No one answered. Silence stretched for several seconds, broken only by what sounded like my father's shaky breathing. When he spoke again, his voice had diminished to something I had never heard before. Son, we have been at Oregon Health Sciences University since last Thursday. Your mother. His voice cracked. Elaine has cancer. Stage 4 pancreatic. They found it during her routine physical. The room seemed to tilt beneath me. Of all possible explanations for their silence, this had never occurred to me. What? No, that cannot be right. I saw Rebecca's Facebook post. You were all at Antonio's celebrating. A hollow laugh entirely devoid of humor. That dinner was at the hospital cafeteria, after your mother's first radiation treatment. The chef there used to work at Antonio's. Maade her favorite pasta dish special. But Rebecca's caption, celebrating without the drama. Because your mother insisted we not tell you until after your big presentation. She knew how important it was to your career. His voice grew strained. She made us promise to wait. Said telling you would just add pressure when you needed to focus. Drama was her word for her diagnosis. Always minimizing to protect everyone else. My free hand gripped the hospital bed rail as the implications cascaded through my consciousness. While I had been resenting their apparent indifference, my mother had been protecting me from distraction. While I had been nursing wounded pride over a misinterpreted social media post, they had been beginning the fight of their lives. Why are you calling now? What happened tonight? Fear constricted my throat. Complication from the radiation. They had to rush her back in. It was bad. His voice broke entirely. She kept asking for you. When we tried calling, all we got was voicemail. Rebecca thought to check the hospital near your work. That is how we found out about your collapse. Shame washed over me in nauseating waves. I had silenced my phone during doctor rounds that first day and never bothered turning notifications back on assuming no one would call. Dad, words failed me completely. Just tell me you are okay, he said audibly, fighting for composure. Your mother needs to know when she wakes up. I am being discharged tomorrow. Heart stress from overwork. Nothing permanent. Thank God for that at least. Relief momentarily brightened his tone. Woody, I know things have been strained between us. I know I have not always expressed. He paused, searching for words. Your mother needs all of us now. Can you come to Portland? The question required no consideration. I will leave as soon as they discharge me. For the next 20 minutes, my father filled in the gaps. My mother's vague complaints of back pain that turned out to be tumor-related. The devastating diagnosis just days after our argument about her birthday celebration. The family rallying around her, taking shifts at the hospital while maintaining the pretense of normalcy to honor her wish that I remain focused on my presentation. She kept saying, "Do not disturb him now. This is his big chance." My father explained, his voice thick with emotion. Even when they told her the prognosis, she was worried about ruining your opportunity. The revelation of such selfless love from the woman I had repeatedly disappointed crushed something in me. Tears flowed freely down my face for the second time in 20 years. Dad, I have been so wrong. About everything. We all have our regrets, son. A gentleness I had rarely heard from Marcus Winston. Right now, let us focus on your mother, on being the family she needs. After we disconnected, I sat motionless in the darkened hospital room, my entire worldview realigning. The photo I had interpreted as exclusion had been protection. The silence I had read as rejection had been respect for my professional goals. The family I had accused of abandonment had been fighting their own battle, honoring my mother's wish to shield me. I pressed the call button, summoning the night nurse. When Jessica appeared, I explained the situation as calmly as my emotional state allowed. I need to be discharged first thing tomorrow. My mother is in the hospital in Portland with advanced cancer. I need to get there immediately. Jessica's professional demeanor softened with compassion. I will alert Dr. Williams. He has rounds at 7 a.m. I cannot promise early discharge, but I will make sure he understands the urgency. Thank you, I said, meaning it more deeply than those simple words could convey. After she left, I called Rebecca. My sister answered immediately, her voice simultaneously exhausted and alert. Woody. She had not used my childhood nickname in over a decade. Dad reached you? Yes. Rebecca, I am so sorry. I had no idea about Mom. And I completely misunderstood your post. That stupid post. Self-recrimination filled her voice. Mom insisted we act normal. Said she did not want to become cancer lady to all her friends right away. Dad suggested Antonio's, since it was her favorite, but she could not handle real restaurant food after the radiation. The hospital chef stepped in. I should have never posted it. No, I should have called more. Should have been there for her birthday. Should have been a better son. We all should have done a lot of things differently, Rebecca sighed. But Mom does not think that way. She just wants her family together now. I am coming tomorrow. As soon as they release me. Good. She will be so relieved. A pause. Woody, I missed you. The real you, not the corporate robot version. The simple honesty of her statement pierced straight through my carefully constructed professional armor. I missed you too, Becca. I missed all of you. I just forgot how to show it. We talked until dawn broke over Seattle, sharing fears about our mother's prognosis and hopes for her treatment. For the first time in years, we spoke as siblings rather than competitors, united by love for the woman who had given us life and now faced its potential end. When Dr. Williams arrived for morning rounds, he found me dressed and packed discharge papers ready for signature. Nurse Jessica mentioned your family emergency, he said, reviewing my chart. Your numbers look good, but I must emphasize the importance of continued rest and follow-up care. I understand. I will find a cardiologist in Portland. He studied me, perhaps noting the transformation that had occurred overnight. Family support is excellent medicine, Mr. Winston. Perhaps this situation, difficult as it is, may benefit your recovery in unexpected ways. He had no idea how right he was. As Trevor arrived to drive me to the train station, I sent one final text to my father, on my way. Tell Mom I love her. Tell her I finally understand what matters. The train journey from Seattle to Portland stretched 3 hours and 26 minutes. Each mile brought me closer to a reality I had spent years avoiding: my place within the Winston family, with all its complications, expectations, and unconditional love I had taken for granted. Trevor had driven me to King Street Station, carrying my small overnight bag despite my protests. Gerald says to take whatever time you need, he assured me at the platform. The team will manage. Family comes first. Family comes first. Such a simple concept that had somehow become foreign to me. Portland greeted me with characteristic drizzle, the gray sky matching my mood as I took a taxi directly to Oregon Health Sciences University. The hospital complex loomed large and institutional, yet somewhere within its walls was the center of my universe. A woman who had loved me without conditions even when I had been most unlovable. Finding the oncology floor required navigating a maze of corridors and elevators. My heart pounded not from exertion but anticipation. What would I say? How could I possibly express the transformations of the past 24 hours? Rebecca spotted me, first rising from a waiting room chair, her face showing the strain of sleepless nights and constant worry. Without words, she moved into my arms, her shoulders shaking with silent tears. I am so sorry, I whispered into her hair. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. She is resting. Dad is with her. The complication was a severe reaction to the radiation therapy. They have adjusted her protocol. How bad is it really? I asked, needing unvarnished truth. Rebecca's expression confirmed my fears. 20% 5-year survival rate. But Mom has beaten odds before, and she is determined to see us both properly settled with families of our own, as she puts it. The oncology room was dimly lit, monitors beeping quietly. My father sat beside the bed holding my mother's hand, his normally commanding presence diminished by grief and exhaustion. He looked up as we entered, relief washing over his face. Woody, he stood embracing me with unexpected strength. She has been asking for you. And there amid tubes and wires lay Elaine Winston. Her normally vibrant features were gaunt, her skin, sallow, her thick brown hair already thinning from treatment. Yet when she opened her eyes and saw me, the smile that illuminated her face contained all the warmth and love that had defined my childhood. My boy, she whispered, her voice faint but joyful. You came. I moved to her bedside, carefully taking her free hand, mindful of the IV line. Of course I came, Mom. I am so sorry it took this to bring me home. Nonsense, she said with surprising firmness. You were building your career. That is important too. Not as important as this. Not as important as you. The truth I had forgotten in my blind ambition. Her eyes searched my face. You look tired, sweetheart. Rebecca mentioned you were in the hospital too. Leave it to my mother to worry about me while fighting for her own life. Just a wake-up call to take better care of myself. Nothing serious. My father cleared his throat. Your son collapsed from exhaustion and heart strain. Apparently has been working himself to death. His tone held no judgment, only concern. My mother's expression shifted to maternal worry. Woody Alexander Winston, have you been skipping meals again? Not sleeping? The normalcy of her scolding broke something in me. Tears flowed freely as I knelt beside her bed. Mom, I have been so lost, so wrong about what matters. I thought success meant promotions and projects, but I was missing everything important. Her thin fingers stroked my hair, a gesture from childhood that unlocked a flood of memories. We all find our way eventually, sweetheart. Some paths just take longer than others. For the next hour, we talked as a family. Really talked without the competitive undertones or careful avoidance of sensitive topics that had characterized our interactions in recent years. My mother's illness had stripped away pretense, leaving only what was genuine and essential. I learned that Rebecca had been carrying the weight of the family business, while our father took extended leave to support Mom's treatment, that my parents had tried reaching me multiple times before my presentation, but respected my focus when I did not return calls, that the drama-free caption had been my mother's joke about her own condition, her way of maintaining normalcy in the face of devastating news. I did not want to burden you, she explained. Your father said that presentation could change your career. Nothing is worth missing this time with you, I replied, meaning every word. Nothing. As evening approached, my mother tired. The oncologist Dr. Chen arrived to discuss treatment adjustments, expressing cautious optimism about new protocols. Before leaving, my father pulled me aside in the hallway. Son, your mother is fighting with everything she has, but this road will be long and difficult. We need to be realistic about what lies ahead. I nodded, the corporate strategic planner in me, already calculating logistics. I will transfer temporarily to our Portland satellite office. My lease in Seattle is month to month. I can find something here close to the hospital. My father's eyes widened slightly. You would do that. Leave your position. I'm not leaving anything important, I said with certainty I had never felt about any business decision. Gerald already assured me my job is secure, and frankly, even if it were not, some things matter more. For the first time in my adult memory, Marcus Winston embraced me without reservation, his powerful frame shaking with emotion. I have missed you, son. The real you. Rebecca joined us, forming a circle of Winston solidarity in that sterile hospital corridor. We do this together, she said, her voice stronger than it had been all day, all of us. The following weeks established a new normal. I found a short-term rental within walking distance of the hospital. The Portland office welcomed me, offering flexible hours that accommodated my mother's treatment schedule. Gerald proved true to his word about protecting my position, even suggesting the temporary relocation might benefit our Portland operations. Most surprisingly, Dr. Elizabeth Thompson from Seattle Memorial reached out recommending a colleague in Portland for my cardiac follow-up and checking on my emotional well-being. Our professional relationship evolved into friendship, adding unexpected brightness to difficult days. My mother's battle continued, with grueling treatments, setbacks, and small victories. Some days she could barely speak through the nausea and pain. Other days her spirit shone so brightly it was possible to forget briefly the gravity of her diagnosis. Through it all, our family remained united, the petty competitions and misunderstandings of the past replaced by genuine support and appreciation. 1 month after my arrival in Portland, we received cautiously positive news. The tumor had responded to treatment, shrinking measurably for the first time. Not out of the woods, Dr. Chen cautioned, but definitely heading in the right direction. That evening we celebrated with takeout from my mother's favorite Thai restaurant served on the good china in her hospital room. As she enjoyed her first real appetite in weeks, she looked around at her family with unmistakable contentment. This, she said, gesturing to all of us, this is what I prayed for. Not just getting better, but having my family whole again. Rebecca raised her water cup in toast. To family. The real measure of success. My father and I joined the toast, the simple plastic cups, more meaningful than any crystal champagne flute at a corporate celebration. Later, walking back to my temporary apartment, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. My collapse during that presentation had seemed like professional catastrophe, personal humiliation, and physical failure combined. Yet without that moment, without the forced hospital stay and misinterpreted social media post, would I have found my way back to what truly mattered? Sometimes our greatest failures open doors to our most important successes. My successful career had been leading me further from authentic connection. My physical collapse had ultimately prevented a more profound emotional and spiritual one. The following morning, I established a new ritual. Before checking work emails or tackling projects remotely, I began each day writing in a journal Dr. Thompson had suggested. Today's entry reflected my evolving understanding. Success without people to share it with is just achievement. Achievement without love is just activity. Activity without purpose is just motion. I spent years in motion, mistaking it for progress. Real progress is measured in moments of connection, not milestones reached. In love given and received, not positions attained. In presence, not productivity. My mother's battle continues. The prognosis remains uncertain, but whatever time we have together now is authentic, unburdened by pretense or competition. Rebecca and I have rediscovered our sibling bond, supporting each other through difficult days. My father and I have established a relationship based on mutual respect rather than unspoken expectations. As for my career, it has found its proper place in my life, important but not central, a part of my identity, not its foundation. The Meridian account was secured in my absence, proving both that my team was more capable than I had allowed them to be, and that my value was not dependent on constant presence. Dr. Elizabeth Thompson's words echo frequently in my mind. Balance is not something you achieve once and maintain forever. It requires constant adjustment, like steering a boat, small corrections to stay on course. Each day brings opportunities for those corrections. Sometimes I drift toward old workaholic tendencies. Sometimes family dynamics trigger familiar defensive patterns. But awareness is the beginning of change, and my awareness has never been more acute. 4 months after my collapse, I stood before a different audience. Not executives or clients, but my family gathered for my mother's birthday celebration, delayed, but not forgotten. As I raised my glass to toast the woman who had given me life twice now, I realized I had finally found success worth celebrating. Sometimes the greatest distance we travel is the journey from our head to our heart, from what we think matters to what we know matters, from ambition to purpose, from success to significance. What has your journey taught you about true connection? Have you ever confused achievement for fulfillment like I did? Drop a comment below about a time when life redirected you toward what truly matters. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need this reminder today. We are all works in progress, and sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is share our struggles so others feel less alone. Thank you for being part of my journey, and I wish you clarity in finding what truly matters in yours.